Call to order for the EDC meeting for Wednesday, February the 24th. Maria, do you want to do a quick overview of our tax situation, since I don't know if everybody read saw the article in the paper at Harper Current on what the plans are, but do you want to do a quick overview for all of us?
Yeah. I could definitely give a quick budget update if you guys just want to add that, make a motion to add that to the agenda.
Okay. I would make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, you're on.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Bob. Yes, so I released the manager's proposed budget for fiscal 21-22 on both the operating and capital budgets. I released that to the Board of Selectmen and the public just on Monday evening. And one of the things I think that was quite remarkable, and it was really nice to have some good news in the midst of a pandemic, but our new growth number, so that's value that was added to our grand list, whether from real estate, personal property, or motor vehicle, grew by 2.94%. It's just incredible. Last year we had 2.66%, which is also incredible. Usually in Connecticut, if a community hits 1% in any given year, they're really excited and kind of jumping for joy. And some of our counterparts in the region, some of whom had fairly decent years as well, we're seeing numbers around 0.9 to about 1.4%. So again, really outstanding. We presented and showed sort of a 10-year snapshot. In those 2 years, outside of one revaluation year that we had, are by far our strongest years over the 10-year period. And prior to that, we had a pretty decent year as well. So I think it's really telling that great story that we all are aware of, is that development interest in Simsbury remains strong, and whether it's residential development or commercial development or renovation or rehabilitation of existing properties, things haven't slowed down for us during the pandemic. People are still interested in us and our community. Mike, people are constantly knocking on his door who are still interested. So I think there's a very good chance we'll have another year of strong grand list growth next year as well. And our assessors team just did a phenomenal job. They're working really hard at starting to capture new growth annually. So as permits are closing out and things of that nature. So we're not waiting 5 years to capture that growth. But again, everybody's done an outstanding job. And again, I think it tells that really nice, strong story that we're open for business and people are interested in making those investments in our community. The other piece, because the new growth was so strong, it really helps to minimize any potential tax increases. And you may recall, for the current year that we're sitting in, we had a small mill rate decrease, in part, again, because of the really strong new growth for the current year. And, I think we've been hearing from a lot of folks that we still have, many businesses who are struggling, many residents who are struggling because of the pandemic, and again, to try to keep tax increases low. So again, this is my proposed budget, and I know it will change, that budget will change as it works through the next steps in the process. But as it currently stands, we are estimating about a 0.17 mill rate increase, which is about $3 a month or about $36 for the year for a single family home in town. So while not flat, it's a pretty small increase. And that mill rate as proposed is still less than where we were 2 years ago. So all in all, I think some good news. The Board of Selectmen will be working through the budget over the next couple of weeks and adopting a budget, and then they will be presenting to the Board of Finance in the middle of March. And then we'll kind of go from there for the rest of the budget process. But again, all around, I think some really good news to share.
Great, thank you. That is very good news, particularly.
Maria, can I ask, do you have a handle on where the growth is coming from? Is it residential, or is it where's the grand list growing the most?
Yeah, sure. So for the upcoming year, two of the most significant areas of growth for us on the real estate side of things were the Big Y, as well as the various apartment construction that's underway still. And then on the personal property side, our two most significant increases came from the Curaleaf expansion, and then also the Deepwater Wind, the Tobacco Valley Solar project. So those were our big drivers there. But even on motor vehicles, we saw about a 7% increase to the grand list for motor vehicles. So that was very substantial, and just really strong. And, maybe for our next packet, I'll just pop this in, but our top 25 taxpayer list, a lot of the complexes, the apartment complexes that have been built over, say, the last 5 years, many of them are actually now within our top 25 taxpayers. So they've really become a pretty significant source of revenue for us. That's part of that new growth that's then helped to take pressure off of the mill rate. So I'll definitely include that list for you guys next time.
That'd be great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. So Sarah Nielsen cannot make it to tonight's meeting, but she did send out a quick email. So I'll just quickly read through the highlights. Sarah's been working to make sure the business property owners' voices are heard on the local and state taxes. We've been fighting on their behalf not to increase taxes. I guess the one quick question, given your comments, Maria, you talked about the impact to property owners. What about, does that also apply then to all the commercial businesses in town? Will they see, similar kind of an increase, a very, very small increase?
Sure. So it's a little different when we're doing that sort of median single family home calculation that's based on an assessed value. Oh my goodness, about $306,000 a year. So for businesses, that our businesses and our homes, the same mill rate applies.
Okay.
And so, based on the valuation that a business owner might have in terms of personal property versus maybe their real estate, we actually do have a tax calculator online. So if you go to the section of our website that has all of our budget information, there's a spot where somebody can use our tax calculator. So they could, in theory, they could plug in their personal property information. They could, plug in their real estate information with the mill rate as proposed, and get a sense of, how that 0.17 mils would affect their bill.
Okay, good. Okay. While it's fortunate so far that not to have the number of businesses closures that other towns have, it's because we have been working since the beginning with our property owners. Many of them modified their rents, allowing tenants to stay open during the pandemic. But this will put extra strain on them. So hopefully they will be very pleased with the tax information. Next comment, we've joined forces with the chamber to launch our Say Yes to Local Support Simsbury campaign. This is meant to help out our local businesses and nonprofits as the effects of the pandemic continue to hurt their cash flow. You can see the participating businesses and nonprofits here, and there's a link to shopsimsbury.com. And we continue to do with the COVID-related assistance, including distribution of PPE to the businesses, town staff, helping with the loans and the grants and the funding and with the vaccines, et cetera. We walked our businesses through registering for the FMLA program, vaccine signups, sexual asset training, and more. So obviously very, very busy time for Sarah, and she continues to do an outstanding job for the town. Morgan also could not make it, and I've got, let me find her note real quick. Sherm, I saw you on the line. Why don't you go ahead and do your update, and while I'm looking for Morgan's.
Things are going well at the library. We can continue to be partially open. We're open 10 to 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we did extend Saturday hours around 9:30 to 3:30 on Saturdays. Curbside is continuing to be a very popular service. What we're doing now is you can place your materials on hold, and when you get the notification you're in, contact us, and we can arrange the curbside service on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then Tuesday evenings until 8. And that continues to be very, very popular also. Some good news I want to share is I support the Simsbury chapter for the Jets Job Seekers Group. And since we've cleared the holiday, it sounds like the interview activity has picked up considerably. And we've actually had a lot of our group get offers and accept jobs. The good thing for Simsbury at it is, I guess, count your blessings, is because of the pandemic, the jobs are definitely remote at this time, and there's a good chance they will continue to be remote. So these folks will be able to remain Simsbury residents while they pursue their new jobs in remote. And it sounds like a lot of them are going to be pretty much full-time remote with the occasional need to travel to their employer's site for some face-to-face meetings, but again, the nice thing is it sounds like the way a lot of these offers have gone, is these folks continue to live in Simsbury and work their new opportunities. And then the other front of notary, Chris Carney and myself have done a lot of notary work at the library, and Chris's video notary service continues to see heavy use too. So we're glad to be able to offer that service for the community also. That's all I have.
Okay, very good.
I do have to drop off early. I have another program tonight, so I'll hang for a little bit yet.
All right, any questions for Sherm? Okay, thanks, Sherm. I did got, Morgan's unable to make it, so here's a quick update for her for the chamber. They've hosted a very successful virtual scholarship fundraiser on the 16th. The scholarship application is available on the chamber website, and applications are due no later than March 20th. This Friday, the 26th, they'll be hosting the Simsbury Development Update at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Mike Glidden will be presenting, and he'll review the recently completed developments in Simsbury, the current projects, and exciting new plans for future development. This is a free program to keep our community in the know, to share the exciting interest that there is in doing business in Simsbury. If you've not registered and would like to participate, feel free to do so at on the chamber website. The chamber is partnered with Chamber Insurance Trust and other companies to offer our members exclusive and completely customizable health benefit plans. These benefit plans are individually built for our member businesses to help them retain quality employees and attract talent. Our partner is able to use FICA tax dollars to reduce costs and provide benefits to employees at a lower premium than public health plans. That's terrific. The chambers continue to have a lot of new member growth, and businesses that were not able to renew on time in 2020 are catching up now. We've gone through a strategic rebranding process to develop a new vision statement and a mission statement and values to allow for our organizations to continue to evolve and better serve the business community. We are focused on continuing to support our members and provide them with opportunities to connect, grow, and thrive. So that is Morgan's update. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll get into our EDC work plan updates. First one is around marketing. Brooke, Charmaine, do we have any updates there?
So I think Sarah captured it in her email. We went over the contract, made a couple edits, and it's my understanding that it's going to the town attorney for his review. Is that right, Maria?
Yes, and actually Bob turned that around really quickly for us. He has one small suggested edit, and if the firm is okay with his suggested edit, we'll be good to go to sign on that and officially get going, which I'm really excited about. So I will get that edit out to you guys hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow.
Given a quick turnaround, when do we think work will actually start? Right away?
I hope so.
Once they get the contract signed, they should, like, get right on it. So I would expect as soon as it goes to Dornberg, it'll be started.
Okay, and when do we think, how long will it take them to complete the work? Just curious.
I don't know that answer. Let me done.
I think it was, I want to say 8 to 12 weeks or something like that. I could be wrong though. It wasn't a contract.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to getting that kicked off and seeing the results of his efforts in the next couple months. So thanks. Anything else? Okay. Peter is not here. Does anybody have any updates on the co-working space or supporting entrepreneurs? I know Peter was supposed to get with Morgan on that. I don't know if that occurred. My apologies for the dog in the background. He's actually quite cute, but he does bark a lot. So, okay, so no updates on that. On the business outreach, a couple of quick updates on that. We do have through TJ Donahue contacts at Hoffman Auto that we can reach out to and get something scheduled. So I've given Tom that information and asked him to coordinate with Peter, or excuse me, with TJ to get something scheduled with them. I've I've gone online to try to, and I've called over at Micro Semi, and I will continue to do so. See if I can get a contact over there. I'd like to keep them included on our list. And Tom is putting together the full year schedule, and I hope to see that from him very shortly. And we'll get moving along on that. As it relates to tier two, Marie, I did see your note that, we'll work with Sarah and Morgan to pull together that list, and we'll get something scheduled. I was kind of waiting for Morgan to complete the meeting here on Friday to reach back out to her then to get something scheduled, so we get something on the calendar, hopefully late March, early April timeframe to have interviews with those tier two businesses. So that would be my plan. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and Lori, I'm going to turn it over to you real quickly. We did have a conversation with Jackie and Maria and a follow-up. Lori and I had a follow-up conversation about creating something we're going to call the EDC strategic plan. And Lori, I'll turn it over to you to kind of talk about the concept and what we
Sure.
want to do here.
Sure. So since being new to the EDC, I was looking at where I could best help out and how to integrate myself into your team. And I was looking at all the existing initiatives and thinking that it probably would be best for me to attempt to take on potentially a side project versus jumping into the existing initiatives, as it's pretty covered. But my thought was, and what I had mentioned to Bob and then shared with Maria, is that I would love to do a look back and a best practice review of other economic development commissions across the United States, in towns similar to ours, potentially in towns that are, who we want to be when we grow up, things of that nature. And there was some interest in it. So how I was looking at taking this on was to look back at the fair weather plan that was done in 2013. So review everything that was done there, make note of all the valuable initiatives that were addressed and activated, potentially look at other items that were in that document and bring those initiatives to a plan for 2022. The second thing was about going out and doing a lot of research about best practices across the United States. So online, there are tremendous amount of examples that we can look at. They range from towns where there's a few action initiatives to towns where there's 5 pages of goals and objectives and action tasks that are listed out. And I think that it would be great for us to do that research, pull it all together, and then sit down with our committee, maybe July timeframe, to review everything that we found and compiled, and potentially decide what we might want to bring to the Board of Selectmen in the fall when we're talking about the 2022 plan. Let's see, what else? I think that if everybody was on board, that I would love it if there were maybe 1 or 2 other people that would be interested in this kind of work. It would be, I don't know if anybody or any of you are speed readers or can review web pages quickly and be able to spy initiatives and even web design work, or I should say web structure work, that we might be interested in taking a look at for ourselves. That is the kind of work that it would be. And then compiling, I can take the lead on compiling everything, but we'll definitely need everybody's input and review so that we can get it all together within the next couple of months, so that we would have time as a team to look at everything. I'm trying to think of what else I should share, Bob, about what I was thinking.
Yeah, so the idea, currently we take direction from the Board of Selectmen. We kind of, obviously we can come up with our own ideas, what have you, but we're more, the way it's currently structured is we're looking for them to provide us direction. So this would kind of flip that a little bit and say, based on the research we've done, here's where we think we can be of more value to the town and be a little more proactive. So
yeah. And it's stated in our mission that part of our job is to go back, is to advise the board if there's new news or information or trends that we need to to share that we want to share. And we do a really, really great job of collaborating with all of the organizations in town and integrating with Sarah's team and Morgan's team at the chamber. But I think it would be a really great opportunity for us to take a look at what others are doing out there and be able to advise the Board of Selectmen as to some things they should consider.
So with that said, are there volunteers from the team that would like to work on this initiative with Lori?
I don't seem to have a lot on my plate at the moment. That's something, researching some websites from other communities and, like you said, maybe compiling some lists of what looks like their best practices. I can help you put together some lists like that if you want to compile them. I would certainly be willing to do that.
Okay.
Ron, that'd be terrific. Thank you. Anybody else?
It's not hard work, but it can be a little tedious if you sit down for an hour to look through everything and take your screen grabs and jot everything down and take note of it all.
I've done a little bit of that for some other things that we've done in the past. So
Perfect.
I have some ideas of where to look, some of the communities I thought were doing good jobs. And
Excellent. Okay. Now, I think Bob, you had mentioned somebody had already done some work looking at other EDC websites.
I know Brooke had done some work on looking at other websites more from a marketing perspective, if you will, but
Okay.
Brooke, you can comment on that.
Yeah, I can see if I can pull up what I found. That was a while ago, but I think I have it in my folder.
If you could
I can
just
share
send
that with you.
anything that you have that you think would be interesting
Sure.
for us to take a look at.
Great, thank you. Tom, any interest in jumping in?
Sure. Put me down.
Okay, great.
Glad to.
Thank you. Thank you. You've done such a great job of research in the past. We think would be a good candidate for this work effort as well. So thanks for volunteering.
You're very welcome.
Okay, that's great. All right, so we got Ron and Tom, and Brooke's going to provide share the research he's done previously. So I think that's a good group, and we look forward to seeing the results here, Lori. So thanks for
Nice to
taking
hear,
on
Lori.
that.
Yeah, I'll message you guys and come up with a plan and figure out how we're going to move forward.
Sure.
Okay, so the next area is liaison updates. Ron, before we jump into zoning, I wanted to go to Bill Rice real quick. I know a number of us, Bill, participated or listened in on the webinar that you held back on, I think, February the 4th on affordable housing for the town. And I'd like to make a request if you can. I know Mike may have reached out to you, but I wanted to formally make a request to you. Would you be willing to do a presentation to the EDC at our March meeting on your recommendations and where you are to date on your planning around affordable housing?
Sure. Yeah. We just completed the Simsbury Affordable Housing Plan, so that that'll be the source of the discussion.
Okay, great. I found the conversation fascinating. A lot of different perspectives, a lot of things I hadn't thought about. I learned a lot. Obviously, a very complex topic, and a lot of different things to think about and then to consider. So I think it's something we're all very interested in, and we look forward to having you present on the next meeting in March. That'd be terrific. Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, Bob, I listened into that presentation also, and I thought it was very interesting and motivating. And I was wondering if there's any role that the EDC can play in that whole housing issue.
So there may be something that zoning's looking at, Maria, around that where we may be able to help out.
Yeah, and I can defer to Mike on this. Mike and I were catching up briefly on this, and there's a potential project I think that zoning might want to undertake that we thought, in particular, Tom's skill set might be really helpful with. I don't know, Mike, if there's something you'd like to elaborate on that.
Yeah, Tom, we may enlist your research with a possible assist project the zoning commission is working on and looking at their existing regs and what options are out there, or maybe if there's any barriers in our regs that prevent affordable housing projects. But we can talk offline if you're interested in helping out.
Yes, sure. Yep.
Great, thanks. So Ron, an update from the zoning?
So in zoning, there hasn't been much activity because there hasn't, I think there's only one meeting that we've had since our last meeting because of holidays or snow days or whatever. But one thing that's is ongoing is there's a continuing process of updating the zoning regulations. And one of the things that came up, and I'm actually looking at a document that Mike sent out. Right now, they're looking at the permitted uses for industrial zones, and Mike put together a nice little comparison of towns in Connecticut that are similar in size, population-wise, I think was the guide, to Simsbury, and then looking at their industrial uses and comparing it to Simsbury. And I think there's a few areas that, for whatever reason, we just have big no's on, like you can't have warehouse or storage in industrial areas, or you can't, well, some things like grain storage, or but there's some other things, truck terminals, that I think they're looking at now that maybe there's not a good reason for not allowing those. So I mean, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're looking at trying to get more in tune with some of these other communities that have a little broader use of the industrial classification for different types of applications to try and get more growth in that area. I think the other big thing was there's a significant amount of empty office space, and there was a discussion on that. What can we do in that area to make, have more uses available for those buildings so they don't sit there empty because they can only be used strictly for office, if they may have some other pertinent uses. So that's kind of where they're at, and they're progressing on that from an economic development standpoint. I think from what I see from zoning, they have the economic growth of the town in their interest. I don't see any people that are really trying to be roadblocks to that from zoning.
Good. Thanks, Ron.
Okay.
Questions, comments? Lori, anything from the design review?
Yes, I can share that at the meeting earlier this month, there was only one because of a holiday, that there is some beautiful work that's going to be done outside the new Rue Restaurant in Fiddler's Green. They're actually going to be creating like a expanse of patio space between the existing sidewalk that's there and the area where it's mulched now and has some shrubs, a tree as well. What they're going to do is create planters that will separate out the sidewalk to their patio area, but it's nice and large. It'll span probably from the right side of the entrance of Fiddler's Green all the way down in front of that portion of the building that looks like a sunroom under Phase Zero's upstairs patio or deck up top. So that was approved. And I think that was the main initiative that we talked about.
Great. I know there are a number of people in the community looking forward to that restaurant opening. We have a good Cajun restaurant here in town. So,
Bob, just one thing, just to follow up on Lori's thing, is that the design review board will be having a meeting Monday night, and we will have a second version of the preliminary plans from Chris Nelson for the redevelopment of the Simscroft property. So members of this commission may be interested in tuning into that meeting at 5:30.
So Mike, if you send it out to me, I'll get it out to everybody on the, send me the invite and I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it.
Okay.
Okay,
I
thank
thought
you.
it'd be interested this board.
Yep. We did have a meeting last week from the Sustainability Committee. Just a quick note there that we are targeting April of 2022 to have our application completed and submitted for recertification at the silver level, which is the highest level you can achieve. Simsbury is one of only 6 communities in the whole state that achieve such a ranking. So a lot of work going on there. In the area of development projects, Mike, Tom and I had a quick conversation. We're not sure that what's going on now with the new electrical car dealership there in Canton, given everything that Canton seems to be throwing up as roadblocks to the whole project. So is there another project we can assign an EDC member to, or is there anything else in the pipeline that we may want to think about?
The Iron Horse redevelopment project is probably a good one. And there is something else in the pipeline that I can't divulge information that it'll be probably showing its face at the April meeting to the Zoning Board of Appeals first.
Okay.
Mike,
All right.
I'd be interested in the Iron Horse one.
Okay.
I mentioned to Bob, I didn't know exactly the process that, obviously listening in on the Monday meeting would be a start, but what would be the next thing that a person like me from this commission would do to follow that development?
So that particular development so Monday night's going to be a preliminary discussion. And then it would be, the two of us stay in contact for when the formal applications are filed, which may or may not require, in addition to zoning and design review, Conservation Commission approval. So you're going to see the whole gambit of the commissions.
Good.
And then that would be making sure that we keep you in the loop on the packets, et cetera. So
Great.
let's talk after Monday night.
Okay, thanks.
Mike, can
welcome.
you give us a quick synopsis of what this redevelopment, what they're targeting, what they're trying to do?
It's a multifamily apartment or multifamily rental development, similar to what they presented to Design Review back in October. Design Review had some comments about it. They asked for a little more green space up front. They asked that maybe that the buildings kind of look less like every single multifamily development in town and more unique because it is the center. So Chris has kind of taken their comments to heart, and he has retained the services of Kemper Associates. Kemper Associates have some new designs of the buildings. Malone and McBroom has kind of did some redesigns of the site and the layout. I haven't seen the plans yet, so I don't want to get too deep into the details on unit counts, et cetera. But it should be interesting. It's an exciting project because it's going to be unique to the area. You're not going to see a multifamily housing project like this in a town center. It'll be walkable. So it's really exciting.
Is this occurring down at the old Simscroft yard?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And they're moving, I should say. So Simscroft purchased a property off of Wolcott Road they did that back in 2015, 2014. They're relocating their operations to Wolcott Road, which was already approved by the Zoning Commission. So, I mean, that was coming. Now, finally, if there's a land transaction, it's not like they're ceasing operations. They've moved over to Wolcott Road.
And Chris mentioned he was thinking or would like to consider have some affordable housing units in that development. And I don't know whether that's where that currently stands.
It is part of the discussion.
Okay. Which is interesting. Great. Okay. Thanks. Anything else? Anybody else have any new business to bring up?
I was just a comment and observation that I noticed, and probably everybody else has noticed too. Obviously, the housing market is really booming, and I think the pandemic has been a plus for Simsbury is it's turning one of our weaknesses into a strength, and that there's so many people working remotely now that people are actually looking for communities like ours. Whereas before it was always an issue that, we're not close to a highway and no one wants to be here. It's just an observation and a thought as we're going through and how to market ourselves that's actually, something we should be promoting.
That's an excellent thought. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to businesses, particularly downtown, coming out of this whole pandemic and how they reconfigure their organizations. So,
Yeah, there will be a switch back to more office participation, but I think there's going to be a permanent, at least I know from my standpoint, a lot of my employees are enjoying not having to drive into the office, especially the ones that are kind of, half hour or 45, 50 minutes away. If they can spend 2 or 3 days at home, it really works well for them. So
right. A lot more flexible options available to employees.
I think that's going to change.
So, excellent point. Okay, anything else?
Bob, just something real quick. I'm sorry if we could just very quickly loop back to business outreach. And I just realized I have 2 email addresses for you, Lori. So I might have sent something to the wrong email address. So I just sent it to your other email address that I have for you. But when we had an opportunity to meet recently, we also talked about possibly updating the Doing Business in Simsbury guide, which was something that our library had put together a few years back with the help of the Chamber and Main Street. And it's really geared towards new businesses. And we've been wanting to update it and freshen it up and update the content. But again, just with all of the constraints on us with the pandemic, we haven't been able to get to it. So we did send that over to Lori, and are hoping that she'll be able to take a look at that for us and offer some suggestions. So just really appreciate her, her willingness.
I did get it. I
Oh,
got
good.
it.
Okay, phew.
Yeah, I did get it, and I saw it, and I looked through it and everything. And definitely, I think that the work that's being done in this side project will help aid the best practice of the kind of content that's put in it and how we put it out there to the world. And I'm going to start looking at the content, but I do believe that it'll probably be best to finalize or to completely build out once we see what comes back from the marketing agency that's doing the creative, as well as tagline work, and then the research as to the best practices, and then that can get blown out and all the creative suggestions for marketing in the future. But yes, I got it.
Fantastic. And again, thank you for being willing to help us out with that. Another thought we had is that once we do get that into really good shape, and it was a piece of feedback I had from a local business owner a few months back, was that, gosh, when you register as a new business officially with the town clerk's office, like it would be really nice to have something from the town that kind of, describes a lot of what's actually in our doing business in Simsbury guide. So, maybe there's an opportunity too for us to think about sort of a welcome letter, and maybe some sort of, once a month, maybe, members of the EDC or a member of the EDC could help us with, reaching out to those new businesses that have, filed their license with the town clerk over the last month, and share that Doing Business in Simsbury guide, and just to kind of help provide some of that information to folks. So I think more to come on that project, but again, really grateful Lori's willing to help us out.
Yeah,
great, thank you. Okay, any other new business? Everybody have a chance to read through the minutes that were attached to the packet? Any changes or updates or edits to the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. So Ron approves, Tom second. All in favor to accept the minutes?
Aye.
Okay, Melissa, there you go. Good to go. All right. It's 6:12, so it's a pretty efficient meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.